World is in beautiful, sunny Southern California on the property of what was once the Great Irvine Ranch, but we're standing on the black macadam asphalt of a drag strip. This is Orange County International Raceway. Hi, I'm Paul Page with drag racing expert Steve Evans, and we are here today for the World Finals in Funny Car in Pro Stock. And today, the battle in Funny Car is between Kenny Bernstein, who is challenging Raymond Beadle. Beadle is going for his third world title.
That's right, third in a row, Paul. Kenny Bernstein has a tough, if not impossible, task. If Raymond Beadle as much as qualifies his famous Blue Max race car, Kenny Bernstein would have to win this entire event and set at least one new national record.
In the Pro Stock category, it's a perennial battle between Lee Shepherd and Bob Glidden.
Well, it's almost a repeat of last year. Lee Shepherd thought he had the title won when he came here 1 year ago, but mechanical problems hit him and Bob Glidden retained the title. This year, however, I think if you ask these fans, they fully expect Bob Glidden to have to give up that number one for the first time in 4 years.
Exciting drag racing action, the World Finals today on NBC Sports World. The funny cars, one of the most exciting forms of drag racing when they're right, but when they're wrong, they go very wrong. Here is Billy Meyer in a qualifying round as his engine lets go, and the oil and fuel begins to burn, and burn it does. As Billy Meyer is inside of that car, the fire system's protecting him ever so well. The crew's right there. They got him out of the car, and Billy Meyer was essentially unhurt after this fire.
Billy taking some oxygen right now, but appears to be in pretty good spirits. Billy, are you all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I just got a little warm.
It didn't appear to want to go out.
No, it didn't. I won, though.
Billy Meyer, you can see, in very good spirits, considering you can see his mustache is a bit singed. Billy, can you come back in competition?
I don't think so. Our other body's in Waco, so, I mean, it would be, too hard.
Well, were it not for the spare body still back in Texas, Billy Meyer might still be in the hunt here at the World Finals.
But it wasn't the only funny car fire in qualifying. Gary Densham's car literally lit up. Not only the motor, the fuel, the oil, but the fiberglass began to burn. He was able to drive that machine to a stop. But can you imagine the incredible heat that is being felt in that cockpit as those flames wash over the car? But the safety systems worked, despite the fact that the car literally burned to the ground. The fiberglass and tires burning as it rolled to a stop. But still, Gary Densham climbed out okay.
The protective suit doing just an incredible job. 4 or 5 layers of the 5-layer suit have been burned off, but it still managed to protect Gary Densham. The boots charred very, very badly, as we can see right here, but they did their job, as Densham does not appear to have any burns anywhere on his body, but he gazes over at his race car and finds that it is not in particularly good condition. The body literally melted.
Part of the driver's test for a funny car driver is to be able to blindfolded hit your extinguishers and chutes and climb out of the car. If you look at the top, you can see he already has the trap door open. And as the car rolls to a stop and the safety crews arrive, Densham climbs out of the top of that funny car. Exciting qualifying, and we expect the same kind of excitement coming up. Back at Orange County International Raceway, I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans, and we're here for the World Finals of Drag Racing. Today, we'll be determining not only a winner of this event, but we'll be looking for a new world champion in both funny car and in Pro Stock.
At the Winston World Finals, the action continues. Pro Stock Eliminator. These are the factory hot rods, Steve. And here is the man that finished number 2 in the world last season. This is Lee Shepherd out of Arlington, Texas, driving for Rare and Morrison.
Well, all he needs is a win light here in this round, David, to become the world champion, to change that 2 to a 1 and take the 1 off the 4 to Bob Glidden for the first time in 5 years.
The man that's going to try to stop that is Harry Scribner out of Simi Valley, California. Scribner, a definite underdog in this case. As you can see, he tries to leave on him, and he does. But watch that Camaro of Lee Shepherd pull away at the finish line. There he goes, the new Winston World Champion, Lee Shepard, driving for Rare and Morrison out of Arlington, Texas.
8.41 for the Rare and Morrison Camaro at 160 miles an hour as Pro Stock continues.
Gene Fashing here in the red car, the Camaro in the near lane out of Winstead, Minnesota, against a good buddy of mine, Andy Manarino from Farmington, Michigan, with a Trans Am Pontiac powered by an Oldsmobile engine. One of the hybrid cars. Watch the RPM start to climb as these drivers put the engines on the floorboard, the throttles flat on the floor before they dump the clutch.
Manarino was runner-up at this year's Cajun Nationals in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He is in the far lane with the Pontiac Trans Am.
And a red light start for Gene Fashing. Andy Manarino advancing another round here at the Winston World Finals. Fashing will get there first and an 8:55 elapsed time, but for Manarino it's 8.42 seconds at over 160 miles an hour.
Excellent elapsed time. Here you see the red light, but Manarino's 8:42, only 100th away from the time you saw the new world champion Lee Shepard. We're going to have quite a war here in Pro Stock.
Our next pair coming to the starting line in the far lane, John Hagan out of St. Paul, Minnesota. His competition, the Chevy Camaro, is Pat Musey from Carteret, New Jersey, the 81 Camaro. This Aero has got a big Hemi engine stuffed underneath it, and they have done a tremendous amount of machine work to get this car to be legal for Pro Stock Eliminator with a Hemi engine.
And they're very difficult to drive as well with a short wheelbase. A big hole shot for John Hagan, and he has got the strongest top in charge of any Pro Stocker here at the World Finals. You see it there. 164 miles an hour for Hagan in 8.43 seconds.
And
we've seen an 8:41, an 8:42, and now an 8:43.
That's what I was going to say, 200ths of a second off of the time by Lee Shepard. Our next pair of cars finds the Tony Suarez entry driven by Gary Hansen. He comes from Santa Ana, California, up against the white and red and blue Camaro of Bob Ingalls from Carmel, New York.
From opposite coasts, they come to the Winston World Finals, the end of a long, long season. And look at Gary Hansen. What a light he cut off of the starting line.
Almost 2/10 of a second head start. And Bob Ingalls almost caught him, but couldn't quite pull it out. 8:65 to a losing 8.51 seconds.
This is a race Ingalls is not going to want to tell his friends about. There's a lot of pride among these drivers as to their starting line techniques.
Here is the car of David Hutchins out of Fairfield, New York. His competition, Don Kuntz, the Kuntz and Clark Camaro from Indiana. Former modified Eliminator racers moving this year into Pro Stock Eliminator, having qualified very well. Both of these drivers as former modified champions. Hutchins dominating the sport for the last 2 years, now finding it a little tougher in Pro Stock.
Well, we got a race on our hands here, David. Everybody's standing up, training to see the win lights, and it goes to Don Kuntz.
That's right, Steve, by identical elapsed times of 8.54 seconds, Don Kuntz winning over David Hutchins.
All right, here's our next event in Pro Stock. Now, this is another of those Hemis you were talking about, Dave. Short wheelbase, hard to drive. This is Pete Smith of South Houston, Texas.
He's up against Frank Iaconio, finished number 3 in the world with that Camaro last season. And Iaconio with a bit of a head start over Pete Smith, and he holds it to the finish line.
With an 8.41 elapsed time, that is the quickest time we have seen in this initial round of Pro Stock.
Here's the Yule brothers out of Reno, Nevada. From Klamath Falls, Oregon comes their competition. This is Terry Sherrill in the near lane.
Terry Sherrill, a car dealer by occupation. The Yule brothers run a speed shop in the beautiful town of Reno, Nevada. Here is Terry Sherrill. This could be a good event. Both almost identical 81 Camaros.
These two Camaros both powered by big block Chevrolets. That means the 427 cubic inch type engine, generally using a little bit less cubic inches because of the cubic inch to weight ratio. And look at the Yule brothers go.
Mark Yule had a better start in the right-hand lane, and he's stretching it out over Terry Sherrill. At 8.48 for the Yule brothers. They're right in the hunt.
At 158 miles an hour goes Mark Yule as our final pair come up in Pro Stock round number 1. This is from Sophia, North Carolina, the red and blue colors of Roy Hill and his 81 Plymouth Horizon.
And he is up against Bob Glidden. Glidden still wants the event title. There's a lot of money at stake, even though he has already seen Lee Shepard take that number 1 up of his window for next year. That'll be changed to a 2.
The 81 Ford Fairmont of Bob Glidden against the 81 Plymouth Horizon, and this another of the Hemi cars, those short wheelbase, Hemi-powered Chrysler product in Pro Stock racing.
Now, if Glidden has a kink in its armor, it's his starting line reflexes. Again, the other driver, Roy Hill, got away first, but Glidden has the muscle on the other end. It's Bob Glidden at 8.44 to a losing 8.56 for the Hillbilly.
So Bob Glidden is right in there in the hunt with the elapsed times now down around the 8.41 to 8:44, 8:45 for the top runners in this first round of Pro Stock. There were 16 cars that started off this Winston World Championship field, and we're down now to 8, moving into round number 2 of racing in Pro Stock Eliminator in just a moment.
But moments ago in Pro Stock, wearing the number 1 of the world champion, Bob Glidden, trying for his 6th world championship in a row, was facing Mark Yule. Glidden on the near side, Yule on the far side.
Bob Glidden was a little late off the starting line, Paul Page. He's the winningest driver in drag racing history. But here the win light goes to Mark Yule in a very close contest.
An unbelievably close race. Mark Yule with an 8.49 ET. Glidden coming off the line slow.
In past years, Paul, Glidden has had enough performance to be complacent on the light. Not here this year. He was down on power. It caught up with him, and that decides the Pro Stock World Championship. The big number 1 next year goes to Lee Shepard and comes off that car of Bob Glidden.
And that brings us up to round number 2 in Funny Car. Here is Dale Pulde's Funny Car as they light the fire on that engine. These are amazing machines.
The Funny Car is an unfortunate name, Paul, for a very sophisticated racing machine. A 2,000 horsepower nitro-burning engine in front of the driver, all wrapped in a fiberglass replica body.
We will see Dale Pulde face Tom Ridings.
Dale Pulde has won 1 national event this year. He's a pro racer out of Southern California. Tom Ridings is a full-time college student living in Long Beach, races on the weekends.
The monstrous power of the Funny Cars come to the line here at Orange County International Raceway in the World Finals. Tom Ridings on the far side, Dale Pulde in the near lane as they bring their machines up to stage.
Dale Pulde was much quicker of the 2 in qualifying, Paul, and has got to rank as a heavy favorite here against the weekend warrior Ridings. It is Pulde reacting to the light first, traveling down the near lane, and he is well out in front of Ridings. Uses him up with an elapsed time of 6.08 seconds at better than 230 miles an hour.
Absolutely no question for Dale Pulde as he wins Funny Car here in round number 2 and moves on to the next round.
At this moment, Paul, back in the pit area, a lot of excitement, some hard work going on as the Rob Williams team from Denver, Colorado, attempts to install an entire new power plant in just a matter of minutes. They had an unfortunate fire in the round before. It'll be a miracle if they can get back to the lanes in time.
In round 1, it was Williams on the near side versus Hank Johnson on the far side. Now watch closely as Johnson on the start drops behind and then loses control of the car and slides across the center line. The race was over then. You cannot cross that center line. But watch now as Williams' engine lets go, lights up, and burning. He goes on to finish this race and to win it. But that has caused this problem, a new engine to be installed in his machine. Hard work that has to be done quickly. Part of the action here today is to decide the world title in both Pro Stock and in Funny Car. And the crowd here is watching as the new Funny Car champion, Raymond Beadle, brings his machine to the line. He became the world champion when Kenny Bernstein failed to qualify.
Well, after a year-long fight for the world championship, you still had a shot, Kenny Bernstein, coming into this event. But you'd at least have liked to have lost it racing, not parked unqualified.
Oh, yeah, you know for sure, Steve. No, it would have been a tough one to win it, but it was like Fremont a couple of weeks ago. We were in the game there, and we didn't qualify. It's just we had a rough end of the season. It really turned around hard, and I was thinking about it on the way back, from the other end. I said, well, I can't remember someone doing so good and then just completely going out from underneath you at the end, but it's just one of those things. That's racing.
So Kenny Bernstein fails to qualify, and Raymond Beadle is the Funny Car world champion for the 3rd consecutive year.
Raymond Beadle, the ultimate pro in this Funny Car sport. He comes to these races with 5 engines. He's willing to blow them all if that's what it takes. Here's the number 1 qualifier, Dale Armstrong, his best of 5.93. So it's Armstrong against the fabled Blue Max in Funny Car competition. The new world champion is off first, but something goes wrong with the Blue Max.
Raymond Beadle rolls to a stop early on, and Dale Armstrong through the traps a 5.89 ET. That is a new Nationals record.
That's right. It's backed up by his earlier 5.93. Here's Armstrong in the car lane. This is his last year of competition, and what a way to exit a new national record.
And Raymond Beadle, the new champion.
Well, if you got to get beat, you might as well get beat by one of the quickest runs in history, as Armstrong ran a 5.89.
Well, I knew he run good. We put too much fuel pump on it, just dropped up some cylinders, so we went for it and we just didn't make it.
So not firing on all 8?
No, I didn't fire on all 8.
But Armstrong, Mike, to run 589, you knew he was on a pass.
Well, we knew that he'd run it probably another at least 93, so we'd only run as a 6 flat. So, like I said, we had to do what we had to do, and it just didn't work.
Well, congratulations on the 3rd Blue Max World Championship. At least that pressure is off. You leave here with all the bonus money, the title.
Thank you.
There's Diane Dunn as she leads her husband, Big Jim Dunn, a fire captain from Long Beach, back into place, ready for the second round of funny cars.
Jim Dunn races strictly for fun, Paul. He was runner-up this year at the U.S. Nationals. He won this event back in 1972. He is set to race this man, 4-time world champion, Don the Snake Prudhomme. But here was Prudhomme's run in round 1.